Coming up on CTV News, the Prime Minister pays a visit to us here at CTV and books donated to quake-affected Christchurch schoolchildren. Welcome to CTV News. I'm Rob Cope-Williams. Prime Minister John Key visited our offices today to visit staff, have a talk to them and have a look around.
Just to pass our commiserations, I mean, CTV has really struggled, obviously, as a result of the second earthquake, and it's been very devastating for you all. So I know the rest of the country really wants to pass their condolences. It's very tough when you're a small company anyway, and that building obviously suffered, catastrophic failure. So it's been a very difficult time for everyone. Secondly, we want to wish you all the best as you sort of regroup and recover. I'm sure the company will ultimately go from strength to strength, so we'll give you whatever support that we possibly can.
Prime Minister John Key came to visit us at our CTV offices today. Key got a tour of the CTV offices and a lunch with CTV staff.
Well, firstly, I just wanted to meet the staff, tell them that we are certainly thinking about them, and we acknowledge all of the difficulty that the company has gone through. I mean, obviously CTV was at the forefront of everybody's thoughts after the February 22nd earthquake. It's been very difficult for the company, but we're incredibly proud of them that they're back on their feet, operating, and we know that it's a channel that Canterburyans want to watch.
I spoke to Prime Minister Key after lunch, and he had a message of support for those struggling with the EQC.
Yeah, so our message is, look, we're doing the best that we possibly can. It's an organisation that's grown from about 29 people prior to the first earthquake to 1,400, so it gives you a sense of the scale, about 305,000 claims. But look, at the end of the day, we need to make sure we give people that support as quickly as we can. I think that message is getting through to EQC. We just announced the new chairman or chief executive of CERA, the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority, is Roger Sutton. He comes from Orion, so he knows Christchurch extremely well, was at the forefront of putting power back on after the two earthquakes. So we're going to push that process along as fast as we can.
And he says there's nothing that can be done for those struggling with insurance, particularly those with small businesses having to pay high insurance premiums.
One of the real tragedies of the earthquake, and there were many, is that ultimately the risk as it's perceived, and not just Christchurch, actually right across New Zealand, is now deemed to be greater. And so you're seeing an increase not ultimately just in EQC levies but also insurance. That is something that we're working hard with the international insurers to try and reduce as much as we can. But unfortunately, they're paying out very substantially. I mean, that's one of the issues about the amount of reinsurance and insurance that we had in New Zealand. So good news is we get that money. The bad news is they see us as riskier, and there's not a lot we can do about that. So the first thing I'd sort of say is we are, going into the budget process with a zero budget. So we're not spending any more money, we're not spending less, but we're not spending any more, solely on the basis that we're putting $5.5 billion in the budget to Christchurch. So I think in one sense you've got to hopefully give the government some credit that we're doing our best actually to get Christchurch back on its feet, and we're certainly not expecting Canterburyans to pay for that. I think when they see the budget, they'll see actually the changes are quite modest. I mean, they're very big schemes. They account for about $5 billion a year, so you don't need to do a lot to save a lot of money over time. And hopefully they'll get a sense of, in a time where we want to spend more on health and education, we've got to spend a bit less in other places, but I think we've got that balance about right. And it's really important from a country's perspective. We're back into surplus, we don't have too much debt. I mean, fundamentally, if we spend money we don't have and we borrow it from people from overseas, it makes New Zealand very vulnerable.
Key says he believes everyone in Christchurch needs support.
So there's a variety of phases you actually go through when you have a sort of catastrophic disaster like Christchurch has had. So it starts with at one level a sort of euphoric phase that you've survived it and you've got through it and all of that sort of thing, and then there's sort of a hopeful phase because you see all of people pouring into town, basically, whether it's urban search and rescue or whatever, so you feel supported. There's the next phase you go through is actually disillusionment. They came up with a better word because they decided it was more PC, but bluntly that's what it is, and it's that frustration where it feels like things are going really slowly.
Key says he believes from the rebuild, Christchurch will become a greater city and the population will boom. But he reiterates it won't happen overnight. We're
working pretty hard to do whatever we can to get Christchurch back on its feet. This afternoon, if you haven't seen it, we've just announced that Roger Sutton is going to be the new chief executive of CERA, the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority. So he's certainly someone that knows Christchurch really well and played a big part in getting power back up for everyone running Orion. So I reckon he'll be a great guy to run the organisation and get them all going. Budget's next week. There's absolutely nothing in it for anyone other than Christchurch. So there's $5.5 billion going to Christchurch for the rebuild. So that's actually pretty important as well. And I mean, we're actually really committed to making sure that Christchurch is rebuilt, ultimately it's a stronger, arguably even better city. I mean, we want to rebuild those heritage buildings that were there, and whether it's the cathedral, Roman Catholic Basilica, all those things I'm sure will be fixed up. But out of it, I think we'll build a very, very strong city, and we're committed to doing that. So there's a lot of money there for that, probably about $25 billion. So we're going to get onto that as quickly as we can. And make that happen, and that's a great thing with Sarah. It has amazing powers to actually make all that happen. We've gone away and actually had a bit of a look at sort of internationally what happens when you have this kind of thing, because it does happen around the world, whether it's in Kobe or San Francisco or whatever. There are lots of examples where there's a big natural disaster of some sort. And what the evidence shows actually is that initially you will get people leave, so we don't know exactly how many people have left Christchurch. I think it's a bit of anyone's guess. But what's actually happens after that is very rapidly people start coming back, and there are a lot of people stay, and then some new people come, and they might be involved in construction or whatever it might be. And we're very confident the population of Christchurch in a few years' time will actually be bigger than it was when this, before the February 22 earthquake. So, I mean, some people still say, what does the future of Christchurch look like? I'd say a more vibrant city actually than was there in the first place. But it is going to take time.
Enki wouldn't comment about the man who appeared in court today, charged with threatening his life, saying he would leave the matter for the police.
And Pete Smith hit the streets to ask how people are coping with the EQC.
Hard to believe it on a day like this, but winter is on its way. What will it mean for home heating for Cantabrians? How's their relationship with ECAN and their insurance company? That's the street talk question today. Ma'am, how have you got on with ECAN and with your insurance?
Well, actually very well. It has taken a little bit of communication by myself with both the insurance companies and with the earthquake recovery crew, which I'm not even sure what they're called yet, but we have just had a fabulous, very large, very efficient heat pump put in at our house only 2 days ago.
Well, we haven't heard a lot from EQC actually since we haven't even seen them from September yet, so still waiting.
We're actually getting on okay. We're fine. We've lodged our claim and we're just waiting to hear back. They've been round and done the initial check on our house.
I wasn't insured.
You weren't
Silly
insured?
Me. No.
Okay.
Silly me.
But can EQC help you at all?
Oh yes, they said they would.
I'm waiting for what Mr. Brown is going to say. When he gets this outfit going. The
Sarah, yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Once they get going and start establishing a few points of interest, tell us what's going to happen. It's just a simple question. There's thousands out there waiting for the same thing.
It's a long time to get of them any information. No one knows what is the progress. No one knows, AQC guys, when the house will be repaired.
She's spoken to them, I'd say probably 3 or 4 times, and hasn't had much response from them so far.
And they've been out to a house and assessed it and said that it's going to be demolished. Same with our insurance company assessor.
How will you go in the winter with the cold?
Well, my house is fairly well sealed. I've sealed it myself.
We're fine. We've got a heat pump that's actually working fine.
Right.
The building we're in is nice and new, insulated, so we're okay.
All right.
A bit cramped, but that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Paper Plus is donating 36,000 books to schools in the city's worst affected areas.
And I'm sure you're all getting ready to receive these brand new books. Have you got your Duffy books already? You have. Yes, some of you have. But there's something really exciting that's happening all around Christchurch today. We have 35 Duffy schools in Christchurch. And on behalf of Paper Plus and many other New Zealanders and young New Zealanders just like yourselves, everybody got together and bought a whole lot of books into all the Paper Plus stores. And that's meant that Paper Plus have now supplied all our 35 Duffy schools with over, get it, 36,000 books. I know!
Paper Plus is donating almost 36,000 books to 34 schools around Christchurch that are amongst the worst affected areas of the quakes. The books are now being distributed by well-known New Zealanders known as role models, such as Linda Wagner, Dallas and Julie Seymour, and staff from What Now and The Erin Simpson Show. Linda Wagner says getting children into reading is hugely important for our country.
Just being involved as a role model initially when the program first started has been a real encouragement, and to be able to share that whole story of kids having books in their homes. We were really fortunate we only had encyclopedias, and it's the most powerful thing to be able to read. That's a person that can communicate in the future, and with the literacy levels in New Zealand not looking too hopeful, I think having a lot of people and a lot of wonderful supporters of books in homes, we're able to ensure that kids get books in their homes and enjoy it, make it a lifelong habit.
New and used books were donated at Paper Plus and Take Note stores nationwide and were collected as part of their book drive for Christchurch children. This scheme is part of Duffy Books' in-home program, who have distributed 7 million books to children in low decile schools. Paper Plus owner Kerry Messivary also says it's important to get kids into reading.
It will help them for the rest of their lives with their future careers and just getting into the world and making sure they've got all the knowledge.
And she hopes it will benefit children at hard-hit schools.
Hopefully that they'll be able to take advantage of it, and with all the books that they've just been given, and do well and go on to better things for their lives.
And they're trying to reach all affected schools in Christchurch.
There's 34 schools in the Canterbury region that are recipients of the Canterbury Earthquake Appeal. They collected about 36,000 books, so it probably averaged out about 1,000 books per school.
Today, Paper Plus also donated $136,000 to the Red Cross.
Coming up after the break, the grape season is producing more wine than we can drink. Welcome back. The seed producing farmers have had a boomer year locally with very high demand for their product, but the world market is also proving to be very rewarding.
Things have changed around. I mean, if we were sitting here 12 months ago, I would have said, well, look, we've got a surplus of seed everywhere and we're struggling to sell it. There's a significant drought in Western Europe. They haven't had any rain for almost 2.5 months. And of course they're coming up to their summer, and of course you know what it's like when all the grass seed crops and everything, they'll be under a fair bit of pressure. So huge demand for seed. So if you've got varieties that can go into, for example, into Europe, then there's opportunities to sell those. And yeah, I mean, we're in the fortunate position to be able to do that as well. So that's part of being part of a global organisation.
So you're on a swinging upwards.
We're on a swinging upwards, which is positive for our local seed growers, because I think going forward we'll see a lift in price and a lift in demand.
Warwick Green, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
The grape growing season has produced a lot more wine than the marketing people are expected to sell, but that doesn't mean we can expect prices to fall because of what's described as a wine glut.
I don't think they can get any lower, Rob, but I think what is going to happen, we're going to have some proper volume to go out and get some new markets, and that's what the industry is working on, has been working on very well. But the prices are really marginal. But if we can get our spread and get our wines out into other areas of the world that we haven't had before, because we are going to end up with an industry of about 350,000 tonnes, and the growers need to, and the marketers need to understand that, because we've got it in the ground, it's going to grow, and it's growing pretty rapidly at us. We haven't got our marketing quite at the same level. They will come in balance. With this vintage being a little bit bigger than we would have liked, it'll take another 12 months for it to come in balance. In other words, it was going to be 12 months, probably will be more like 24 months now. But in the longer term, I think the wine industry's got a very good future.
There's been some very significant wineries fall over, which is tragic. Is there going to be more, do you think?
Yes, there are wineries and individual vineyards. There is a lot of, unfortunately, it's the fallout of one major thing, and that was the banks lent far too high debt to equity ratios, and things got very tight for a number of reasons, and unfortunately these guys can't pay their way out of it. So the banks have tightened up considerably, and out of that comes some mortgagee forced sales, and I would suggest we'll see a large number of signs go up over the next few months, which is rather sad for those people. But at the end of the day, it's the industry cyclic, and we're at that part of the industry that's pretty uncomfortable for a number of people.
That'll also bring the general price down, I would have thought.
In terms of land, it will a little bit, and in terms of wineries and what have you, yes, they will. I mean, they may have spent $5 million building the complex and may end up getting $3 million for it. But in terms of the wine per litre in the bottle, it's really at its bottom now. We've got very good quality wines at extremely cheap prices, and we've got to change that. We've got to get some value back into it, because if we don't, we won't have an industry. But I'm sure that value will definitely come back into it. When you come to think of it, when you bear it in mind, Rob, we're still only producing 0.8% of the world's consumption of wine per annum. Surely we can turn our product into something that's got real value.
Coming up after the break, Pete Smith visits the home of Canterbury ITM Cup and your weather. Welcome back. Pete Smith went down to Rugby Park today, which will host this year's Canterbury Games of the ITM Cup.
Here we are now at Rugby Park, and Rugby Park is going to actually change. It used to be just a club field and predominantly the Crusaders' home training ground and the ITM Canterbury side. They trained here. Well, now, of course, with what's happened to AMI Stadium, this has become the big one. So, what has to happen? I've gone to the head groundsman who loves this park, knows every blade of grass in it, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, you'll be a bit busier coming up to the season.
I think I will be, Pete. I'm sure I will be, this ITM Cup.
So what's planned, mate? We're going to get all the games here?
We're going to have all the games, yes. We're going to have 2 Shield games. The first one's a Wednesday, I think. And then we're playing the Southland about 3 weeks later for a Shield game. And if the sun's out, we could be embarrassed with the crowd.
Yeah, you're a great man for afternoon rugby. Of course, it has to be afternoon rugby, doesn't it?
Yes, the lights aren't up to standard, so it has to be played in the afternoon. And it's exciting.
Can you remember the last time Rugby Park was actually full?
Yes, it goes way back to when Andrew Mertens played his first game for Canterbury against Wellington here one night, and the place was absolutely chocker.
So what are we talking about? How many do you reckon you can get in here?
Well, I think we're talking about 7,000 to 8,000 with the seating around the back and around at the ends of the fields and the stands. We could get up to 7,000 to 8,000.
That would be great, but of course, I wonder how Sky feel about it, where the glamour team's playing afternoon rugby, which they don't ever want afternoon rugby, do they?
No, they don't. They've always been one for nights, but afternoon, if the sun's out, afternoon rugby is the game.
If we get a wet winter, though, is that going to really put a strain on the park here?
No, I don't think so. Once we get all the seating and everything in with the trucks, which worries me a wee bit, once they're in, the seating's in, we should be okay.
Some talk about parking maybe at Melbourne Park.
There is talk of parking at Melbourne Park with even barbecues, we hope.
Well, that's good, and I mean that's a start. But who will train on here then, Kevin?
Well, the Canterbury team will still be training here. The Crusaders will still be training here until they finish. I think they finish about the time the ITM Cup starts. I think.
So is there any club rugby to be played here or not?
No, there's no more club rugby. We only have one game this season, and I think that's the lot.
So it is still an awful lot of rugby when you take in training days and nights as well as games. You're going to be busy keeping it in good order.
It's going to be hard once the winter sets in. We'll have to sort of look after a wee bit. We might have to even transfer the odd training session if need be.
Yeah. Have you got other grounds around that you can use?
Only Melbourne Park next door, but we have got some other grounds. I suppose they can go to Hagley Park if they wish somewhere else.
Right.
But Melbourne Park seems to be all right.
So you're going to get some more staff?
Oh, I suppose we'll have to have a wee bit more assistance, cleaning up and all the rest of it. We'll have some clubs coming in on the day afterwards to clean the field up, I think, yes.
Yeah, but you'd be a bit tough. I mean, there wouldn't be many people want to work under you, would there?
Oh no, I'm a hard man, a terrible hard man.
And you love this piece of green turf, don't you?
Oh, I love it. I've been here for 20 odd years now, so I feel like it's a part of me, but unfortunately I don't have any, mate.
You're about 85, you should have retired, you still keep going.
I still keep going, that's right.
You come in most days, I presume, Kevin?
I do, most days, except the Sundays, Saturdays and Sundays.
Right. So the wonderful, it's the upgrade of the ground though, thank goodness it was done.
Yes, we were lucky we had the field. We didn't do too bad after the earthquake. We didn't do too bad at all. The field was quite good.
Are the stands cleared, or the one stand you've got, that's okay, is it?
Yes, all okay by engineers, yes.
Now remember, this was going to be pulled down, was going to be a housing development scheme, one of the wild wacky schemes that the rugby union came up with?
A few years ago it was. It never happened, thank goodness.
We'd be in deep stuck now, mate, wouldn't we?
We would. We would have no ground. So.
All right, so you've got an exciting season coming up, and it sounds exciting actually for the Canterbury fans. I know a lot of you out there think, there should be more afternoon rugby. Well, here's your chance. Afternoon footy will be at Rugby Park. Be a bit of a bottleneck to get around here, but in my case, I can walk, so I'm quite happy.
Kenetta Knight spoke to Karen Hamilton about the status of events being held in Christchurch on City Life.
But Karen, how has the earthquake impacted events in Christchurch?
Canada, I'd say there's been a significant impact from the earthquake. Obviously, infrastructure is our biggest resource that we've lost. So there's venues and accommodation properties that are going to be off limits now for quite some time. So there's been a lot of cancellations, a lot of postponements as a result of that. Obviously, things like Rugby World Cup, which has been well publicised, have been cancelled or pulled from the city. But essentially that's just the tip of the iceberg, and it does filter right down from those big public icon events, Ellerslie Flower Show, which was due, we were packing in for that event right prior to the earthquake. Those events, to lose those is a significant impact on the city, but as I say, it does filter right down to those corporates, training groups, company conferences, sporting events that were coming to the city. So yeah, so we've definitely lost a lot of business. But on the upside of that, it's not all doom and gloom. There definitely is an expressed desire from those clients to return to Christchurch once the city's back up and running and ready to host them. So, yeah.
What about 360-degree events? What did you lose out on?
Well, sadly, like many businesses, 22nd of February, we actually lost every one of our clients. So before the earthquake, we were looking at 2011 as being a bumper year. Contracts were coming in, we were feeling very confident about the business climate and looking forward to big events like, obviously, the Rugby World Cup and Ellerslie Flower Show. So we've definitely gone back to the drawing board. Having lost all of those clients is a big impact for us personally as a company for this year. But that said, we're very optimistic. We're being very resourceful in how we're getting on with the events for the year, and we've been fortunate to pick up some events that have come about purely because of the earthquake. So the Share an Idea Expo that's coming up this weekend at CBS Arena, we're project managing that for the City Council, which is a great project to have, and obviously one that we wouldn't have had the opportunity to do and engage with the city in that way if we hadn't had the earthquake.
And the TEDx event is coming up this weekend. Kenetta spoke to Ralph Manji about what will be happening.
Well, the idea initially came around straight after the earthquake. I was speaking with a friend of mine, Kyla Colbin, who is the curator. She's away at the moment. And she was actually in the States and due to speak at TED Active on the West Coast. And we said to ourselves, we really need to do something here, and that the TED platform would be an amazing opportunity to bring people here and start to talk about the future and start to spread ideas which could actually give people the opportunity to think about a new Christchurch. So that's where we decided, okay, let's do the TED thing. And then TEDx is really the community version. So that TEDx conferences happen every day, every year, all around the world, and it's the opportunity for communities to put on their own independent events. So that's where we came up with that idea.
Okay, so tell me about, it's happening May 21, and tell me what the day will involve.
It's going to be a very, very busy day. The day starts at 9 o'clock. We have 15 speakers and 2 events where we have a comedian and we have an amazing sand artist who will be beaming in live from Miami, together with a speaker who is a singer who's going to be singing live to the sand art. So it'll be a very, very busy day. 15 speakers, all be talking about a huge range of things, and what we want really is the public to come there and be really inspired and to go away and think, okay, what is possible? What's being done in other places around the world? What can we really hope to achieve?
Let's talk about the ethos behind TED. Tell me about the website, TED.com. Tell me about that.
TED.com is one of those black holes. You go onto it and you could spend hours there.
I know.
The speakers there are just incredible because, TED is about ideas worth spreading, and it's really about inspiration. So it's non-commercial, it's non-political, it's non-religious. It's people going there and getting up and spending 10 to 18 minutes, which is not a long time, but actually just trying to really get people to go, wow, and you can watch the same videos over and over again. You know, people like Ken Robinson, you know, Bjarke Ingels, you know, just incredible.
And now here's Sasha to tell us what we can expect weather-wise.
Hi everyone. It was a good bit warmer today, which was a welcome relief. Temperatures ranged between 19 and 21 degrees, a little cooler to the west with 14 and 15. This was a result of a northwesterly airflow moving over Canterbury, which brought clear skies and those warmer temperatures. Looking to Friday now, mild with high cloud for Kaikoura tomorrow, moderate northerly breezes and a high of 16. A fine Friday with sunny periods and high cloud in Hamner. 16 is your expected high with moderate northerly winds throughout the day. North Canterbury sees another fine day with high cloud and moderate northerly winds. Temperatures down to 9 overnight tonight, then up to 16 tomorrow. Plenty of sunshine and high cloud tomorrow for the Garden City. Pleasant temperatures of up to 16 degrees are accompanied by northeasterly breezes. High cloud and a nice day in Ashburton tomorrow. Moderate northerlies are the order of the day. 17 is your Friday high. Timaru sees another fine day with high cloud increasing and moderate northerlies. 16 again is the expected high, that low down to 9 overnight tonight. Looking to other areas, it's a fine day with some high cloud in Culverden, Darfield, Methven and Akaroa. However, Arthurs Pass and Greymouth see rain all day, so keep an umbrella handy. Let's take a look at the weekend now. We see fresh gusty northwesterlies develop on Saturday with high cloud throughout the day. Mostly sunny skies on Sunday with fresh to strong westerlies. That's your weather tonight. See you tomorrow.
Didn't think that warm weather would stay. That's CTV News. I'm Rob Cope-Williams.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.